Welcome back to Light Talk, where everyday people can share their own unique spiritual journey stories with a safe and supportive community. If you like to if you have a story you'd like to tell, email lighttalk423 at gmail.com. And while you're at it, click on the like, share, and subscribe buttons. Well, today we have two guests. Yes, you heard me right. Two guests today, and I'm excited to have them both with us. So let's get started. Introduce yourselves and let's go.
Thank you so much, Dana, for the warm introduction and for the space to have this conversation. I'm Eleanor,
And I'm Daniel.
and together we're the founders of Truth of You. We're partners in life and business and everything else. And it was really the path that led us here to be able to experience this. We founded Truth of You, which is a multidisciplinary practice enabling the deeper transformation, healing, and investigation into the layers of self. And Daniel will share a bit more about what we do, but our tagline is because you're too big to be this small. And I feel like we'll be carrying that tagline until, for decades to come because we're so conditioned to be okay with our smallness spiritually. And as Daniel once put it, it's not okay to be small in a big world. And everywhere we look around us, we're validated for being small. And that's not our birthright. That's not how we're meant to experience this reality. But when we step into our bigness, we step into what the universe actually is and ground it here, then life truly transforms. And this is the extent that we've needed to go to be able to transform, and how deep we've had to go in our own cosmic exploration, and why we're really passionate about bringing the perspectives that were, I wouldn't say missing from our spiritual path, but the ones that we needed to truly shift things on a paradigm level so that we can experience it on all levels.
Yeah, and that's it as well. Like everyone on the path requires different things on their own journey. And so while, a lot of people tend to give you that advice that is more suited to their own life rather than what yours needs, using the right languages and tools and such. This is why we're multidisciplinary. We recognize that the path to understanding the truth of who you are to the deeper layers, it needs holistic framework that really captures all the parts. And it does so in a dynamic and a unique way to each individual, because I've spent a lot of time receiving advice for me that wasn't tailored to what I needed. It was missing its own parts as well. And so with Truth of You, the real focus is back to the individual, and then you starting at the individual, connecting back to the bigness, the divinity, the who you really are as inside and through spirit. And so the big themes that are within the business are around healing and transformation, because the idea of to understand yourself means to change, and really to recognize who you truly are means you do have to overcome a lot of the wounds and the pain and the suffering as well, but doing so in a way that is not only just compassionate, but it's also practical. It's also one that doesn't need to be as hard as we might think of it. We think of the hard parts of life as just needing to suffer through them, and it doesn't always need to be as difficult. It doesn't need to take as long, especially if you can have the correct guidance and someone who can hold not only the space, the language, and the understanding as well.
Yeah, and that's a lot that needs to happen. I mean,
Mm.
I'm still in the process of doing all of this. So I mean, it's a lot of work, and you get very confused, you get very okay, now I'm on it. I've got this, and then you get confused, and then it's like, yeah, I'm working on it myself. So yes.
Mm. Everyone is
Yes, yes.
part of
At
the meaning
some
of life.
point.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So, go ahead and tell us a little bit about the things that you've experienced while you're working this kind of work.
Yeah. So one of the big things at the moment that we're doing is past life regression and quantum healing. So at the moment, it's QHHT, which is an in-person service only. But we also offer an online service as well. We're using a different technique. And the idea with that is we can get people into a trance state, deep trance state, similar to dreaming, but they're still conscious, where we can access the parts of yourself that are connected to your past lives in particular parts, and we try and channel it through the past lives that have reference to this life. There are areas where we carry energy between incarnations and we keep playing out these same themes. And we keep playing them out until we, quote, learn the lesson. So QHHT was developed by Dolores Cannon. And if anyone looks up her work, she talks about the idea of our lives, and the "what did you learn" line is very common in a lot of her videos as well. So understanding the fact that really incarnations and lives that we have as humans, or as anything really, are about learning and growing and making sure that we're always on that. Well, we call it the spiritual path, but from the other side, it's just existing. It's the purpose of existence, is to learn, grow, and understand yourself deeper.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, with the trance states, we help clients activate memories into their past lives through direct experience. And then after that, we usually invoke the unconscious, so they can ask questions that they've prepared for this life. Say they're having money issues or relationship issues. It doesn't just have to be about the experiences that they've had and clearing those old wounds, but actually making sure that they have the correct guidance in this life. And what we love about this work is that we're not the ones doing it. We just facilitate them doing all of their own healing. And that's also part of what Truth of You aims to be about. It's about self-empowerment. We don't want to be here and give you the answers and tell you who you are. We want to help you find it for yourself.
And that's a big part of it. I mean, that's even part with doing meditations and everything like that to learn yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a lot of deep work, really. Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be as difficult as a lot of people make it out to be.
Yeah. Okay.
Like that's what we found, especially when we were early on, and we were doing our training sessions and getting family members regressed, and they're like, "Well, I don't necessarily believe this, but I'll give it a go." And then they get there in, half an hour and they're already under, and they just it's just mind blowing that there is this whole other dimension of experience and being that they'd never considered in their life. And what it means and what it implies is just something that it just opens Pandora's box for them.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
I
it
can
goes
see
even
that.
deeper than that. When you're
Wow.
really on the path, it's much deeper than that.
So what did your family think after that?
Depends on the family member. Some have just sort of thought it was a wonderful experience and sort of went back to their everyday life. Some people are more questioning, and they're slowly starting to do some of the work without calling it spiritual work or the great work. But I've had more clients that I don't know who've had the most profound changes. The experience was so intense that they have to rethink major parts of their life. And so really what I found in my experience is that it really depends on just not only how open the client is, um, but how seriously they're willing to take it, because integration is the biggest part. And we can't for them. You only get out what you put in. It's like gym. You can look at the weights all you like, but if you don't lift them, you're not going to grow any muscle. It's the same
Right.
with this work.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. It's, you know, I'm working on it. I'm not the best at it,
Yeah. As a- well,
but I'm
and this
I'm
is just a
doing what I
technique.
can. Yeah.
Yeah. And this
Yeah.
is just
That's
a
crazy.
technique, and we're still involved. We're still early on in our growth, and so we're going to continue to grow and develop new skill sets and tools and offer new services as well. Because again, we recognize the path to the truth for each individual is vastly different. But
Yeah.
we found that when we were doing individual readings like astrology and human design, the challenge with these ones is that the ego can still get in the way, and work like these regressions, it aims to take their ego out of the picture. And that's very necessary for a lot of people who can't really make spiritual progress without getting their ego out of the way first. And I'm testament to how difficult that is, because I'm one of those difficult to hypnotize clients.
Yeah, I get I do pretty decent with my meditations, but I still have a lot of monkey mind going on, a lot of
Yeah.
gibberish going on. Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
another thing as well, even though we want to work with the unconscious and the spirit side of ourselves as well. A part of the business we do want to look at expanding into is somatics and working with the body as well. Because the thing is, when you talk about the mind and it just, it won't shut up and stuff, usually there's
Right.
things you're getting signals from the body as well, and the body carries a lot of energy as well. And so even being able to deal and attend to the needs of the body is also a very big part of the spiritual work as well. Because when you go deep enough, you realize that, body and spirit are one and the same.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true.
Mm.
Yeah. So working with the body and the mind makes everything work together. Do you guys also work with the chakras?
In a regression, inherently that comes up. Like it could be a body scan that you request, and they do a massive clean sweep of certain chakras. They put it back, they get it spinning. It's what
They
we
take out the trash.
they literally take out the trash,
Mm.
or they remove scripts that are very deep rooted, or it's maintenance. And this is what we love about this work, is that at one time when someone is under in that state of trance, it's not one part that is being addressed. And they're working on multiple layers to things that we can't even see or know that are there, but it's happening, which is different from working with one model at one time, which has its benefits, but I guess you could say it's light duty spiritual work. If someone's already doing really well, their life is functioning, they're needing to maybe work on one pillar of their life, then that's great. But it's one type of energetic body. We have many types of energetic body. And when you put someone in that state of trance where you can access it all from the top down, it is really powerful.
Yeah, I can just imagine. And what kind of feelings do you guys get? Do you get like you feel the energy when you're doing this from your
Definitely.
client?
Yeah, well, we connect to their energy field. So whether it's online or offline, we connect to their energy field. So, Daniel's had his
Yeah.
experiences, and he'll be, oh, you talk to yours and then I'll share mine.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, when I'm there with the client, it's not just you're sitting there reading your scripts and asking your questions. It's very deeply connected. Astrologically, I'm a Pisces stellium, and so that intuitive connection is very natural for me. And being able to lean in and give them more energy when they need it as well, I've found has sort of helped clients sort of tip that edge if they were getting close to a breakthrough or close to understanding, just giving them that little bit more.
Wow.
Um, just to get what they need as well. I don't have anything specifically individual, but it is a part of the regret work that we do as well.
Sounds like a lot of work, but it's not hard work. I mean, from what I've experienced, it's like it's easy to get to the energy, it's easy to get to all of that, but at the same time, it's hard. Does
Mm.
that make sense?
Depends how you perceive and it's all a state of mind, really. Do we find it hard to play or hard to have fun? It's like, no, why not? So
Okay.
why is work considered hard?
There you go.
Yeah, this
There you
is
go.
also another part as well. Again, like astrologically, you've got the 10 planets all having their influence, and Saturn makes things hard work. Jupiter makes them light and fun and, well, expansive, and Venus makes them beautiful. So the thing is, if something's found hard, you can even just, look at what the other planets and how they influence you, and consider the fact that maybe there's other elements missing, or maybe it's dry. Think of eating food, without any sauce or anything like that, and it's dry and like you don't like it. Well, change it. Add more salt. Add some barbecue sauce. You know, add some oil, whatever you need. It's about understanding that usually, we also have to work with what we like, and not just at one level, but the totality. You see people who lose weight, and they'll eat, you know, garden salads without oil. And it's like, not only is it miserable, but it's not even like from a macronutrient perspective balanced.
Yeah.
So it's about finding the balance for all parts of yourself simultaneously.
Yeah.
And to some
Yeah.
people, that is a mystical experience unto themselves, landing in completely new energy that is balanced, that is harmonious within themselves. Mystical experiences do not need to be these grand near-death experiences or out of body or so many different things. Like life itself is a mystical experience. Look at how wonderful our body is. Look at even the concept of a soul, like really connecting with these principles, even connecting with a meal, like how comparatively beautiful that can be a meal in the company of so much love and abundance. So mysticism isn't something that necessarily happens out there or one off. It can be found in every single moment with the right perspective.
Yeah. Well, I've got a lot to learn. But I'm
We all
getting there.
do.
I'm
That's
gonna
why
get
we're on the
there.
path.
And that's and we were
Absolutely.
told that too. We were told for the work we're doing, we got to work very hard for a very long time because, again, what we're trying to do is sort of bridge the connection between all of the languages, all of the models. We want to sort of, when you ask about the chakras, it's like it's important for us to know and integrate that into our work, but we don't want to be like Reiki practitioners or anything like that. Let the Reiki practitioners deal with the chakras, as their primary mode of work. We want to be able to work with all of the areas, as many as we can, like as I said, in a holistic sort of framework. So all areas can be balanced at the same time, and understanding that the unique experience of other individuals need different things at different times as well.
Right,
But
right.
ensuring that the
Yeah.
spirit element is included as well, because ultimately it's serving, you think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you got the bottom tier, the first four layers are all about survival. And so we can't really think about self-actualization or self-transcendence until the lower things are need. But as Elinor said, this is a spiritual experience to be a human as well. And even understanding that sometimes in regressions, I've had people who had lives where the purpose of that life was to learn how to survive. So even learning how to survive in this reality is part of the spiritual journey too. But understanding others are much further along and what their needs are vastly different to someone who, might struggle to put food on the table.
Deep.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. So, how did you guys get started in all of this? What brought you to this point?
We all we met during a very difficult time in our life and over time became best friends, and certain events happened that sent us down the path to healing when all conventional ways were not working. And that really brought us closer together. And fast forward a little bit, I presented to Daniel an optional obligatory trip to go to Brisbane to have a past life regression because we were looking for that, the depth of perspective. We were cottoning on that what was playing out in this life is not something that just came from this life. They weren't problems and challenges that were born in this lifetime and were established in the physical out of free will. So we needed to go deeper.
Mm.
So it was a past life regression, which 3 hours after Daniel had his, we found ourselves, not himself, we found ourselves in a relationship. And it was only a matter of time before we started conceptualizing, what is life going to look like? What do we want to do? And the respective path and how we've supported each other, manifesting that in our own business has been just wonderful. And what we get when we put each other under as to what the business will be and the work that we'll be doing, hearing that directly from source essentially is just so powerful. And what we've been able to do for each other, we want to be able to bring that to others, because again, there are some people who are on the path which, like ourselves, find themselves in just intricate knots and intricate situations that, as Daniel was saying, not one language, not one perspective is enough to shift that. And that's why bridging together, as Daniel says, the right tool for the right job, being able to provide that to people on the path, no matter how complex or heavy duty the situation is what we want to be able to provide the liberation from.
And can I say on that as well, like with my own life in this incarnation, I was told it was somewhat of a redemption arc because most of the karmic challenges that I've had in this life, I've received the number 80% of it did not originate from this life. And so when I've tried to talk about my own struggles, like people don't understand. They don't understand. It's like, you haven't had a bad life. And it's like, then why do I feel that way? And so that's also very difficult for the average person to understand as well. But coming together as well in the relationship as well is we realized how much our life couldn't be complete by just doing it on our own. And we were very much in the mindset before of thinking we needed to do it alone, even side by side, but alone. And that's also part of a karmic lesson for both of us, was to recognize that life isn't meant to be lived alone. Some things are not meant to be achieved alone. That's not how reality works. That otherwise it'd just be a single player video game. You might think of. But this is a social reality as well, and we cannot forget the need for connection and community and building things as well that, are our own creation. That's a very big part that we've also been told. Truth of You has to be very creative in what it does. So this is what our path needs as well, not as individuals necessarily, but together as its own entity.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
As a couple, you got to have that goal and that mountain to
yeah,
climb and all also. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, awesome. Thank you guys so much for being on the show and all this wonderful experience methods that you guys do. I mean, you just have me sitting here thinking of my own life and just going through. So that's why I was like so quiet and just kind of like thinking myself. Oh my goodness. I love it. Well, yeah, thank you so much for being on the show. And it's just awesome. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Dana.
thanks for having us.
We
Uh-huh.
appreciate the opportunity to bring these perspectives, which, people on the path, that could be the piece that they need, and it sends them down the trajectory that they need as well. So thank you very much for creating this opportunity.
Oh, it is my pleasure by far. All right. Thank you again. And thank you to everyone else for watching. And if you have any stories of your own, please email me at lighttalk423@gmail.com. And while you're at it, click on the like, share, and subscribe buttons down below. And we will talk with you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.